Good morning, fair people of YouTube. This is Choppadong once again. This one's gonna be a little bit different. We're gonna do a real quick recap video for those of you that are interested in the Bankroll challenge. We're starting to build a little bit of momentum. Hopefully we can keep this up, get back on track, and show you what we're talking about. Last night was a little bit of a scattered shotgun approach to. I had a couple of slates I liked, so I kind of dilly-dally dabbled with a few of them. Put out a couple of lineups, but you can see we were positive overall on the night. We played a couple of the single entry tournaments. It started off kind of weird. Um, I started off with this 10 entry max because I like smaller GPPs. And I feel they're more winnable. I feel that the return that you get on them is fine. I don't need to try and beat 25,000 people in a given night and create the miracle lineup. I'd rather, one of my mentors is Kevin, the football geek at DFS Army. It's obviously we've become friends over the years. And he's somebody that when I pick his brain, when I get a couple of chances to talk to him here and there, one thing that he let slip out a couple of maybe year and a half ago was that's kind of what got me on this kick to play smaller GPPs. He mentioned that, and I'm going to paraphrase, but basically he said, "Look, man, when DFS was new and young, and the biggest tournaments we could find were 3,000, 5,000, 6,000 people." That was how I built my bankroll, by winning those. These days, the tournaments are so big, they're fun to play, but they're not really winnable. You can't really count on winning, and they're so top-heavy that you have to create such miracle lineups to get paid in them that you're better off playing smaller GPPs. And so I sat and I thought about that. I let those ideas sit in the back of my head and percolate for, you know, weeks and months at a time sometimes, and then, something cracks open, a light comes on, and it just makes me realize that's where it's at, man. You play the smaller GPPs, they're more winnable. The guys that played real early in the DFS days had a little bit of an advantage in that, first of all, nobody really knew what they were doing. Second of all, everything was a little bit smaller, therefore it was a little bit more winnable, and they were able to scoop up $300, $400, $500 at a time as opposed to trying to hit a $20,000 payday. Now, the other happens, and if you watch some of the stuff that I do and read some of the stuff that I do, you realize that we layer contests. We'll play a large portion of our money in cash, and then we'll play a little bit of a portion in tournaments, and then maybe even throw $1 at a big, lottery ticket type tournament just in case it goes off. But my point is, I focus on these smaller tournaments because they are more winnable. You'll see I'll play some. That's about as big as I get right there. But I saw the 10 entry max, and I thought, you know what, 10 entries out of 3,000 people is a .003 chance at winning. It's not very good. But, one entry is a .0003 chance of winning. So it's a 10% difference. You got a 10% better chance of winning than I do. I look at the money and I go, that's not a big deal. I can throw a single bullet into this thing and be okay. It's not like a 150 entry tournament where people are really max multi-entering. So this one was still good. And I'll show you something in this one. Well, I can't show you without the link here. I will tell you that when I was poking through this tournament here last night, you can see my better lineup was up here, and it would have done okay. Some nights that happens. You put the wrong lineup in the wrong event. But when I was poking through this tournament, I came across 3 or 4 lineups from our other coach, our guy in charge of the spreadsheets and the tools. Keith Hall, Boomer's daddy, if you follow us in the Army, and he had a modest night in there. I think that 4 or 5 of his lineups cash. I'm gonna assume he put 10 in there for $20, but in the 4 lineups that I saw cash, a couple of men cashed. One did pretty well, and then one did really well for $25. He ended up taking $40 out of it. So if you put in 10 entries, you spend $20 and you take out $40. Hell, ROI wise, it's a better night than I had. So. The coaches in the DFS Army, we know what the hell we're doing. We know what we're talking about. Some of us, are better than others, but most of us have been around long enough and we've accumulated enough experience that we can pass that information down to you guys. My tip to you is play smaller GPPs. Digging in a little bit, you can see I offset it with a little bit of cash. This lineup, of course, was just pure junk, and it wasn't because of McCullers. He just didn't have a good night last night, but everybody owned him, so it wasn't a big deal. You can see the Express slate did better. Well, we'll go up here to the min cash. This was, if I did the Bankroll challenge, I wasn't really intending to yesterday, but putting in a couple of different GPPs, I might put together a little tally sheet, just because technically I did play them. And I didn't organize the cash really well last night because I threw in this GPP late, It was nice, min cash, that's fine. And this one I didn't intend on playing the express slate, but I saw a couple of things that I really liked in terms of the way some teams were lined up and what I thought a lot of people would do, and something that I could do that was maybe a little bit different that I thought people were overlooking. And you can see this is the slate that I did best on. Maybe we'll get into teaching kind of how to do that, how to read a slate, how to look at a slate. It's a little bit difficult concept to teach or to communicate, but just follow along. Click subscribe, click the thumbs up, like these videos, comment with me on Twitter. It's where I interact the most outside of Slack if you're not a VIP member. If you are a VIP member, you can find me in Slack all the time. So we had an okay night. This lineup had a little more potential. It really benefited from the Hosmer home run late, but what are you going to do? I would take this is a good return. $9 on $3. So that's just a quick rundown of where we went. Maybe I'll show an overall thing in another video when I add them together. But we had a profitable night last night, and that's the way it goes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the page. I'm going to get off and running on today's slate. Tuesday it's a full slate, so look for chin music. Look for I don't know if we'll do a breakdown video on the slate, a lineup build per se. We might. Oh, the one thing I did want to show you about these tournaments really quick. If you've been listening, I do percentages where I will tell you that this right here is a top 5% lineup. You divide 65 into 1176, and you're going to get 6-7%, something like that. If my math, and it might be right on 5%, but a 5% lineup should win a 10-player contest. This 128 would have won that contest. If I scroll down, and I'll show you this one up here at the top, this was a 15% lineup. Top 15% lineup means it beats 85% of contestants. And this one should have won a 10-player contest. If I'd have put it in this contest down here, it would have won. So if I cancel out of this, scroll down a little bit more, I can show you the 15% line wins. The 130 would have won. So even though it was a 15% line and the 10% tournament pays the top 3, that means top 30% lineup cashes, top 20% lineup should get second place, top 10% lineup should have a shot at winning. This one was a little bit lower money line. It would have allowed a 15% lineup to win. It didn't need to be better than a top 10% lineup. That's the way they go. If I show you the next one, this was the top 5% lineup. If that whatever score I just showed you that would have won this one too. It was like a 128 or a 130. What was it? Well, yeah, 128, 130, doesn't matter. Would have blown away this league right here, that express slate. So the top 5% lineup actually did well enough that it would have just smashed that league. So focus more on beating percentages of people. Don't focus so much on the results. I can show you through time after time after time. If we end up getting a little lucky and putting these in the right contests, we do a lot better. That's just part of the variance of the sport. That's why you kind of try and attack these things a little bit more systematically. These are things we'll talk about as time goes on, as this video series progresses, and as we build, hopefully, a community and a following. If you're interested, follow along with my Twitter account or follow along with the description in the bottom of this tab, and there will be links to the DFS Army website. There will be coupon codes that I sprinkle out throughout the day. As football gets ready and gets near, this is something that's going to become very, very, very important that we do to not only build our brand, but to build our community. What I'm trying to do is build a community from all walks of social media that we can pull into the Army, and we can pool our resources together, and we can build better tools, and we can build better advice, and we can find better coaches, and we can find better communicators, and we can do all of this on a better and better and better and better level to bring you guys up with us and teach you guys how to play with us, and hopefully start bringing results, because that's why we're playing this game. We want results. We can't do that without your help, and you can't do that obviously without some of our help. Some of you guys are going to identify yourselves as outstanding talent, and you're going to become contributors on the site too. That's just the way this thing works. It's an all-inclusive deal. So jump in, become a member. Use the coupon code WIN, W-I-N, for a 7-day free trial into the Army, and take a look at what we have to offer. If you saw the video yesterday, you saw me go through some of the tools and some of the spreadsheets and things like that we have. So jump in, give us a shot, and we'll see you when we see it.